What's going on, everybody? Jason back in the basement, but I am not in the basement that I was before. I actually moved to a new house, so I am in a new space, getting used to it. As you can see, my walls are bare. Eventually I'll probably get some photos up there, you know, some things to just make it an interesting space. But I got a nice workstation right here behind me, you know, just my desk where I can kind of do my work and, you know, photos, print photos, do my thing like that. But wanted to do this quick video that I, wanted to update you guys on my film photography journey. I figured it's the most appropriate video to do right now since I've had this big hiatus of doing any videos, and I did go down the rabbit hole of film photography cameras. So I bought a Canon AL1, I got a Minolta AF Tele point and shoot, and then I took one of my dad, one of his old Fuji cameras that he had. It was a small format. I forgot what it was called, but it's basically the precursor to APS-C sensors. It was the APS-C film version. But ultimately, I didn't end up using that at all because there was no film to be had in a normal sense. Like I had to order it and stuff like that. And then the developer that I was getting my film developed doesn't actually develop it. So he only does 35mm film. So that was that. So I tried out the AF Tele and the Canon AL1, and I like the Minolta AF Tele. For one, it's a point and shoot, so it's simple to use. It has it takes AA batteries, which I thought was cool. I'm always trying to get, kind of stay away from proprietary batteries as much as possible, unless they're rechargeable. And so I like that about it. It had a good form factor, and I just thought it was a cool camera. So I did shoot about 2 rolls through that, and the results were okay. I think the development of the film seemed to be the problem, in my opinion, because I used similar cameras in the past that were film, and it just didn't seem, especially outdoors, bright daylight, being very controlled with my shots and not really moving erratically. I felt like some of the shots just didn't come out crisp. It just didn't look right, in my opinion. Overall, still a good camera. Got it for really cheap on eBay for literally $30 or something like that. Something, small. But just ultimately, between the film development, it just wasn't for me. And also the Canon AL1. Now that I went down a whole nother set of rabbit holes. Obviously with the Minolta, it's a point and shoot, so you couldn't really do much, with the camera itself. It had an automatic flash. There was no control over the settings. So what brought me to the AL1 was I wanted an alternative to a point and shoot to have more control of the camera. And so I did get a few lenses for it. I got a 28mm. It came with a 50mm lens, and I bought a couple other lenses. I had a 135mm lens. So I wanted to have a whole set. I wanted to really try this thing out, see if it was good for me. So I went out shooting. I shot about three or 4 rolls, and the results came out a whole lot better on that, even with the same developer. But I think because I had more control, it was even harder to lose the quality of it. And so I really enjoyed shooting with the Canon AL1, I must say. But to really truly update you on the journey, what I really determined for myself is that I don't like the wait time of film. And I don't know how to develop film. And so waiting is that much more painful for something, that you don't know the output, and you also don't know how it's going to be developed. So ultimately, I felt like film is not for me unless it's instant film. So now I've moved on to a new journey. So the Minolta AF Tele is already sold and gone. The Canon AL1 is still sitting on my shelf with the 50mm 1.8 lens. So to be determined on what I do with that. I'm probably gonna sell it as well. I just don't really want to wait for film. I feel like 35 millimeter is a good format, but I have to go to either a Walgreens or a local camera shop, get it developed, wait for it. The cost of it is, a little bit pricey, and ultimately, I just don't want to do it. Now, what I did do, now for some of you, you may already know, I do print my own photos. I have an Instax Wide camera. So I've always had this. I have an Instax Wide, and I've always printed my own stuff. So I've already got instant film, in my background. I've already been doing that. So, as you can see, I got a stack of prints, from sessions and, personal stuff, so I really enjoy using it. One of my favorite ones was this kind of family session. So I'll put it up to the camera. Shot a family in the park. That's pretty cool. What's another one? This one I shot in the park of a statue in Liberty State Park in Jersey City. So I really like instant prints. I really do enjoy it because it's shooting, I can print these so and get the medium that I want, but from my digital camera. So I highly recommend the Instax Wide printer. But it's still not an analog experience, right? You're still using a digital camera or your phone, and you're printing on the film. So it's not being exposed by light the way an analog camera would expose and then getting the print. So although I still love this, I still wanted to go down the road of an actual analog experience. I also have a Canon CP1500 4x6 printer. So that again, I do print photos. So I do print my photos for myself, for my family, of clients and of my family. So I have that stuff, right back there. So I got two printers. And that printers, like I said, printers the 4x6s. It's great. I love it. Quality is good. I used to have a Kodak printer, which was terrible. I do not recommend going down the Kodak route. I'd say stay with the bigger brands that have, R&D and customer service. It just was, the Canon's just light years better. Just the quality's just way better. But again, back to the cameras. So I went down a rabbit hole and said, you know what? I have a whole stack of Instax Wide film on my shelf. Why don't I get a wide camera, right? So I did. I went on eBay and I purchased Lomo Instant Wide camera. This thing, spoiler alert, sucks. I'm just gonna say, I'm sorry, it sucks. Now, let's talk about what I like about it. For one, I like the design. It's got a vintage, old school look. This black is, got a nice stealthy Batman look to it. I love it. It does come in a lot of other colors, which I think are cool, but I think the black is probably for me because of the size. The black kind of shrinks it down a bit, because if you got another color, it's going to look as big as it is. But I chose to get the black one, because it makes the camera appear smaller somewhat. It has a lot of good functions. So you've got multiple exposure modes. You've got exposure compensation plus and minus. You've got a bulb mode, so you can do long exposures, and then you got a fixed 1/30th of a second shutter speed, so you can do some flash work with this. And it has a PC sync input, so you could connect a flash and do some studio work, which is what I had planned to do with this. Spoiler alert, I can't get this thing to work. So what I don't like about it, I have not successfully gotten the first sheet of Instax is always that black cover sheet, and that's supposed to come out. Every time I put that first Instax cartridge in, it gets stuck and doesn't come out. And so either it's stuck or it actually didn't eject it at all and it's still there. So that's the problem I've been having. So I had to either pull the cartridge out when it is stuck and lose the sheet behind it because it's stuck. And then the camera will work when I put the cartridge back in. It will work after that. So it will eject the film and expose and do everything it's supposed to. It's just the first sheet just seems not to be able to eject. Or in other instances, I have to manually push the front black sheet out on my own and then put the cartridge back in. So then again, that first sheet is exposed. So I'm really, for every cartridge was supposed to be 10 shots, I'm only starting with 9 because the first one is always lost because of the issue with the first black sheet not coming out. So that's the problem I had. So I bought the one off eBay and I said, you know what? I reached out to the seller and said it didn't work. They refunded me the money, or some of the money, you know, partly. So I'm stuck with a few bucks, but I bought it for cheap, so it's not a big deal. And also it kind of sort of still works, kind of sort of, just not the way it's supposed to. So I said, you know, what if I buy a brand new one? So I bought a brand new one. And the new one has the same exact issue. The same issue. So I have 2 of these. 2 black Lomo Instant Wide cameras that don't eject the black film. So as much as I want to love this camera, and I want to recommend this camera, I think Lomo has to get their act together in terms of quality assurance of the products. I've been hearing this noise online even before I bought it, but I said if it was so cheap that I had to buy it, and why not? And so I did, but it's still 2 cameras within the last 2.5 weeks. And it's a bummer that I just don't get the first sheet to come out because I'm wasting film. I tried a bunch of film trying to make sure that it wasn't just me, but I kept, you know, dumping a new pack in. I've had a whole stack of film that I just lost because it just didn't work. And, you know, I'm doing test shots and just, you know, the shots themselves, once you get to the actual film, it works, but it doesn't eject the first sheet. And that's the problem. So I'm hoping, you know, I sent an email to Lomo, so hopefully they get back to me on the new one that I bought. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this camera anymore. And spoiler alert, I end up buying another cheap eBay buy, and I bought the Lomo Automat, Instant Automat, which is the mini film version. You know, this is the Instax Mini. So I haven't got my film yet in the mail because I actually never shot mini film, you know, Instax Mini before. So I am going to give you another update. So maybe this might be the only film camera that I end up using, hopefully, if it works. I'm not sure. So stay tuned. Thanks for hanging with me this long if you got through it. If you are an experienced Lomo shooter, especially with the wide camera, can you tell me what's up with this stuff? Is it just me? Is it a chronic problem? If you use the Automat, you know, let me know how that works also. So I haven't shot this yet, but, you know, I'll be back with another video on that. So thanks for joining. Talk to you later.